All right, let's jump right into today's deep dive. We're going to be tackling some fascinating arguments about Islam.
Okay.
We're looking at a YouTube video where an Islamic scholar, Dr. Haytham Talat, is going head-to-head with an unnamed atheist.
Interesting.
It's like a detective story.
Yeah.
You know? We're digging for clues in history, linguistics, philosophy. The here is that we're not just hearing one side.
True.
Dr. Talat is directly responding to the atheist's points. So it creates this like conversation within a conversation.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, it's super engaging.
So where do they start? Like, what's the first point of contention?
Well, right off the bat, there's this delicious irony. The atheist says, I will never talk about religion again. And then, boom, he launches into a whole critique of Islam.
Typical. I mean, it's like, can you really ever completely avoid these big questions, you know, about faith and belief and all that?
Right. They kind of have a way of sneaking back in.
They do. They do.
But let's get to the heart of the debate.
Okay.
So the atheist, he takes issue with the origin of the word Quran.
Interesting.
He claims it's not even Arabic, but that it comes from the Syriac word, Qur'an.
Qur'an.
Meaning the Christian book of rituals recitation.
Wow. So he's basically saying the name of Islam's holy book has Christian roots.
That's a pretty bold claim, right?
Very bold.
And Dr. Talat, he doesn't just let that slide.
What does he say?
He fires back with this like multi-pronged rebuttal.
Okay.
It's super interesting.
Lay it on me.
So first he points out that according to that same scholar.
Oh, the one the atheist cited?
Yeah, the very same one. That the word Kyrian, it didn't even exist in ancient Syriac.
So already the atheist's argument is
kind of shaky.
Yeah, a bit shaky.
But then Dr. Talat goes deeper into the linguistics. He explains that Quran fits this very specific Arabic grammatical structure called wazn fulan.
Wazn fulan. Okay.
And that this structure, you just wouldn't find it in Syriac.
So it's like trying to, I don't know, jam a square peg into a round hole.
Exactly. The word just doesn't fit.
It's like forcing it.
Yeah.
So I'm starting to see how crucial understanding the origins of these terms is. It's like you can uncover hidden meanings.
Totally. And it can completely shift the whole conversation.
Absolutely. And you know what's even crazier?
What?
Dr. Talat points out that the Syriac word the atheist is using, it actually translates to the crowing of cocks.
No way.
Yeah.
That's quite a difference.
Just a tad, yeah. Wow. Talk about, like, missing the mark.
And he even suggests that maybe the atheist is, like, mispronouncing the Syriac on purpose.
To make it sound closer to Quran.
Right. Oh,
to seem geeky.
To fit his narrative.
Yeah, yeah. To try and make it fit.
So it's like linguistic detective work.
It is. It is. And it makes you wonder how often, you know, these little misinterpretations or even just like myth pronunciations can totally change how we understand these texts.
Absolutely. And Dr. Talat, he doesn't stop there. He emphasizes that to really grasp Syriac,
you need to know.
You need a solid understanding of Arabic.
Yeah.
And he even quotes Syriac scholars themselves.
To back that up.
Yeah, to back up his point.
That's pretty convincing.
Right. It really shows how interconnected language is.
Yeah.
And how important it is to use, like, credible sources.
Reliable sources.
Yeah, and accurate interpretations.
Yeah.
Especially when we're talking about religious texts.
Absolutely.
So, round one of this debate,
it seems,
goes to Dr. Talat.
Yeah, he's got some strong points.
But this whole argument about the word Quran,
it's just the beginning.
It's just the tip of the iceberg.
Oh, okay.
Because then Dr. Talat, he throws down a gauntlet.
A gauntlet.
Yeah, with a challenge that goes straight to the heart of Islam. The Prophet Muhammad himself.
This is where it gets juicy.
He asks if any atheist can explain the phenomenon of Prophet Muhammad's prophethood.
Whoa, hold on.
And he even says he'll shut down his entire YouTube channel.
His whole channel.
If someone can give him a satisfactory answer.
That's putting a lot on the line.
Right.
So what exactly does he want explained? Like, what are the specific things?
Okay, so he lays out several key aspects of Prophet Muhammad's life and the rise of Islam that he believes need explaining.
All right, I'm listening.
So first, there's Muhammad himself,
yeah,
who claimed prophethood and brought forth Islam.
Right.
And Dr. Talat really emphasizes that this is the only purely monotheistic faith.
He keeps coming back to that.
Yeah, he sees it as like a crucial distinction.
Setting it apart.
Setting Islam apart from other religions.
Got it.
Then There's the Quran itself.
Yeah.
With its diverse knowledge, encompassing science, law, history.
It covers a lot of ground.
It does.
Yeah.
All presented in this unique style that captivated even the most eloquent Arabs of the time.
Powerful stuff.
And of course, we can't forget the sheer impact of Muhammad's mission, right?
True. I mean,
empires crumbling.
Exactly. Before those who embraced Islam.
And Dr. Talat, he attributes this to, divine support.
So he's not just laying out historical facts, but he's like crafting a narrative.
Yeah.
To support his claim about Islam's divine origin.
I see. Okay. And then he brings up the prophecies again.
Yeah, those prophecies we touched on earlier.
The ones that seem to align with events in Islamic history.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Especially the ones in the Book of Daniel.
Oh, wow. The ones written thousands of years before Muhammad.
Yeah, Dr. Talat believes they offer really compelling evidence for the truth of Muhammad's prophethood.
So, he's building this case.
Yeah.
Layer by layer.
He's, building this fortress of evidence.
Okay, but what about the other side? What about counter-argument? That's a great question. And that's exactly what Dr. Talat tackles next.
Really? He addresses those.
He doesn't shy away from them.
But
he explores the possibility.
That Muhammad
could have been a liar.
Okay.
A magician. Or even mentally ill, suffering from what he calls...
What did he call it?
Pathological liar syndrome.
Wow, strong words.
He's ready to take on any challenge.
Yeah, but how does he actually refute these? What are his arguments?
So he systematically dismantles each one.
Okay.
Using logic and historical evidence.
Got it.
For example, he argues, if Muhammad was a liar, how could prophecies about him have been made thousands of years before his birth?
That's a good point.
Right.
But couldn't you say that, lots of charismatic leaders throughout history, they've built followings based on, things that weren't true?
But that's a valid point. But Dr. Talat, he emphasizes that.
What?
Unlike other figures, Muhammad didn't just claim prophethood. He introduced this, unique and comprehensive system.
Religious system.
Yeah, that transforms societies and continues to resonate with billions today.
So it's the combination of, the claims, his character,
and the lasting impact
that Dr. Talat sees as evidence of genuine prophethood.
It's not just about the individual, but the movement they inspired.
I see.
And as for the magician theory, Dr. Talat argues it can't account for, the Quran's consistency with scientific facts. Or its call for pure monotheism.
He's saying magic tricks can't explain the depth of the Quran.
The depth, the complexity.
Or the societal changes.
Exactly.
This is a really interesting back and forth.
Yeah, it is.
I'm curious to hear how he tackles that mental illness argument.
We're getting to the core of some really complex questions here.
We are. About faith, evidence.
Interpretation.
Yeah, all of it.
It's a lot to unpack.
Definitely. We're just scratching the surface here.
Right. There are layers upon layers.
But the key thing is, Dr. Talat is encouraging people to think critically. He lays out his arguments, the evidence.
Yeah.
And then he's like, okay, what do you think?
It's a good reminder that, real dialogue
requires more than just,
stating your own views.
Yeah, you got to consider
other perspectives.
Yeah.
And that's what makes this deep dive so fascinating.
Totally.
We're not just, passively listening.
No, we're actively
engaging, wrestling with these tough questions.
Absolutely.
And hopefully coming away with a deeper understanding
of what's at stake.
Yeah.
I like it.
Me too.
Okay, so we've gone through Dr. Talat's analysis of the word Quran.
Yeah, and that challenge to atheists about Prophet Muhammad.
Right. Now he kind of shifts gears a bit.
Oh, where does he go next?
To this really thought-provoking topic.
Okay.
The implications of atheism for humanity.
This is where it gets deep, right?
It does.
Let's take.
He's pretty straightforward. He argues that without God, humanity loses, its inherent value.
Loses its purpose.
Significance, yeah.
He doesn't hold back.
No, he doesn't. He uses some strong imagery, too.
Like what?
Comparing humans to, insects and parasites.
Whoa, that's harsh.
It is. He even brings up Sartre.
Oh, the philosopher.
Yeah, who said godless man is like an insect.
Meaningless, purposeless.
Exactly. And then there's Fukuyama.
Okay, what did he say?
He argued that without God, There's no real difference between humans and parasites.
So basically, Dr. Talat is suggesting
that atheism leads to this bleak worldview.
Nihilistic, even.
Yeah. But we got to remember, this is just one perspective.
Right. Plenty of atheists would disagree.
Absolutely. They find meaning in things like human connection, art,
nature,
the pursuit of knowledge.
There are lots of ways to find purpose, even without religion.
Totally. It's important to acknowledge that
there's diversity within atheism itself.
Yeah, it's not just one monolithic thing.
Okay, so back to Dr. Talat's argument.
He doesn't stop at philosophy.
What else does he use?
Historical examples.
Oh, interesting. Like what?
Things like Lysenkoism.
Okay.
And the atrocities committed under certain regimes, ones that embraced atheism.
Right. Those are some dark chapters in history.
For sure. He even uses statistics, Brad DeLong's book, to highlight the death tolls under those regimes.
It's heavy stuff.
Very heavy. He's making a direct link between rejecting God
and the rise of totalitarian ideologies,
leading to mass suffering.
It's thought-provoking. But is it fair to blame it all on atheism?
That's a good question.
Were there other factors involved?
Absolutely. Political, ideological factors.
It's complex.
Very complex. So yeah, Dr. Talat's examples are interesting.
But we got to approach them carefully.
With nuance, yeah. Because history is multifaceted.
Right. It's never just one thing.
No, it's never that simple.
Then Dr. Talat brings up John Locke.
Oh, the Enlightenment thinker.
Yeah. Locke believed that atheists couldn't be trusted.
To do what?
To uphold the social contract.
Interesting. That idea that you need belief in God.
For morality, social order.
Yeah, it's been debated for ages.
It has. But again, there are counter-arguments.
Right. Lots of atheists would say morality exists independently of religion.
Exactly. They point to things like humanism.
Secular ethical systems.
Yeah. Emphasizing reason, compassion.
Respect for human dignity.
Without needing a divine being.
And there are countless examples of atheists living moral lives.
Contributing to society. Upholding justice, compassion.
Right. So while Dr. Talat's argument is interesting,
we have to acknowledge the other side.
Diversity of views.
Yeah. Atheism isn't one monolithic thing.
No, it's a spectrum.
Okay, but then Dr. Talat gets personal.
Oh, how so?
He shares an anecdote. The atheist he's debating.
Tell me more.
He claims that this atheist has been suffering.
For how long?
For the past 6 years.
Since when?
Since he first attacked Islamic scholars publicly.
Wow. And Dr. Talat attributes this suffering to
divine retribution.
Well,
he calls it the Sunnah of Allah.
The established ways of God.
Right. It's like he's saying there are consequences.
For mocking religious beliefs?
It's a strong statement.
It is. It shows how deeply personal this is for him.
Yeah.
His views aren't just theoretical.
It's about how he sees the world working.
But isn't it a bit risky to say any misfortune is divine retribution?
I mean, people of all faiths experience hardship.
Right. You can't just assume it's punishment.
So while the anecdote adds a personal touch,
we got to be careful about drawing conclusions.
Yeah, it's just one story.
Out of many.
And it doesn't prove a universal truth.
No, but it does highlight this key aspect, the whole debate.
Okay.
How belief, experience, and interpretation are all intertwined.
Right. How we see the world is shaped by our beliefs.
Exactly. Whether we're religious or secular.
It's a good reminder.
That we all come to these discussions with our own baggage.
Our own experiences.
Yeah. And recognizing that diversity is key.
For having meaningful dialogue.
Absolutely.
As we keep exploring Dr. Talat's arguments.
We got to keep that in mind.
That we're not just dealing with abstract ideas.
But questions that impact
how we understand ourselves.
With the
world.
Big questions.
Yeah.
I like it. Wow, we've really covered a lot.
We have, right. From the word Quran to Dr. Talat's challenge to, his views on atheism.
It's been quite the deep dive.
It has. A lot to think about.
Definitely Dr. Talat's clearly passionate about his faith.
Oh, yeah. He's put a lot of thought into these arguments.
He has.
But before we wrap up.
Yeah.
I'm curious to hear your take on some of these key questions.
Okay, shoot.
So, what are your thoughts on those competing claims about the word Quran?
You mean, which side seems more convincing?
Yeah, this one stand out to you.
It's tough to say for sure. Dr. Talat makes a strong case against the atheist's claim, but it'd be interesting to see what other scholars say.
About the word's origins.
Yeah. I think it shows how important it is to understand language.
The nuances.
Yeah, and the historical context.
Especially the religious text.
Exactly. Can't just take things at face value.
Right. Got to dig deeper.
look at different perspectives.
Think critically.
All of that.
Okay, so what about Dr. Talat's challenge to atheists about Prophet Muhammad?
That's a tough one.
It is, right?
Yeah.
Like, what are some possible explanations for his rise and the spread of Islam?
Well, Dr. Talat, he focuses on divine intervention
As the main explanation.
Yeah, but we also have to consider the social and political climate.
Of the time.
Exactly, the economic conditions, too.
Right, the whole historical context.
It's complicated. We'd need a whole other deep dive to really unpack it.
Probably. But going beyond this specific debate,
Okay.
what do you think about Dr. Talat's broader argument about belief and disbelief?
Like whether rejecting God automatically means you lose meaning and purpose?
Yeah, is it that simple?
I don't think so. It's a question that's been around for centuries.
Philosophers, theologians, everyone's weighed in.
Exactly. And Dr. Talat's perspective is valid.
From his point of view.
But there are other ways of seeing it.
Lots of people find meaning without religion.
Absolutely. Through human connection, art, nature,
Knowledge.
Just the pursuit of understanding.
It's not a simple equation.
Not at all. Human experience is way more complex than that.
I agree. But one thing I do like about Dr. Talat's approach
What's that?
is that he emphasizes seeking truth.
He does. He encourages people to think for themselves.
To look at the evidence.
Come to their own conclusions.
He even recommends his book.
Bizarre.
Clear Proofs, yeah. For those who want to dig deeper.
He's not just preaching.
No.
He's inviting people to explore, to question.
That's important.
It is, regardless of your beliefs.
It reminds me that real dialogue, it's about more than just stating your own views.
Right. You have to genuinely listen.
Consider other viewpoints. And maybe that's the biggest takeaway.
From this whole deep dive.
The search for truth, respectful dialogue, being open to learning.
Those are values we can all benefit from.
Whether we're religious or not.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Well, this deep dive has definitely given us a lot to ponder.
It has. It has.
So to our listeners, keep exploring these questions. Keep those conversations going.
Yeah, be open to new ideas.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
It's been a pleasure.
Until next time, keep seeking truth.